Hi everyone! I should be really sitting at my desk and editing, but it's super lovely outside. It's very sunny, the light is natural and bright and perfect, and it's Friday and it's been good end of the week, and I just feel like actually doing something in my art journal. So this morning I received this pack of Mitsubishi pencils. They are the double-ended pencils, so it's got the red and the blue, and I already have sharpened mine, and it says here Vermilion and Prussian Blue. So you have these two lovely colors, and I have seen this pencil being used by quite a few artists here on YouTube. And in fact, I had this pencil pack sitting in my Amazon basket for a while, and because they were shipped all the way from Japan, I had to wait for quite a few weeks. So that's the reason why I kind of was thinking, shall I or shall I not go for it? But a few weeks ago I placed the order and it arrived finally today. So you get 12 pencils, and originally I was looking just to buy one and see how I get on with it, but I couldn't find a singular pencil to buy, so I had to go ahead and buy the whole pack. So like I said, there are 12 pencils that come in the pack, and one already went to my son. He really enjoyed playing with it today and painting, and this is the second one out of the pack. So I see how I get on with it, but apparently it's super fun. So I've got my MD Cotton notebook in front of me. I haven't done any work in here since August the 10th. So this summer basically, and I thought it's time to do something, because on this paper there is some ghosting. I never do illustrations on both sides, so I keep it like that, just on the one side, and that's fine because pencils tend to transfer to the opposite page, so I'm not worried about that. So I thought today I will do an illustration, and probably will put you on fast forward, or might leave it, if it's a short enough illustration, I might leave it real time, but do some voiceover because it's a little bit easier that way. Alright, so let's start. Okay, so I decided to use the Prussian Blue side of the pencil, and that will be the base color for the face and the skin and basically everything. I will use the red side just for the accent, so you'll see later. It'll be the lips, it'll be a few bits and pieces. So I just gave myself a face shape, which I used very little pressure to create. So I didn't want to go in straight away with a lot of pressure, because I always can do that later, and in fact if I want to change the shape slightly, I can do that by adding a little bit of pressure. That's how actually pencils work. They're very different to work with if you're used to watercolors, so it takes a little bit of time. So the other thing that's different about pencils is that some of them will have a little bit of shedding of the pigment, and so you'll need to use some sort of tool, like I'm using here a fan brush, to gently wipe the pieces of pigment away from the paper so you don't smudge, and don't apply again too much pressure to the brush, because then you're likely to just smudge that pigment on the paper as you catch it on the bristles. So here, as I first started with the lips, it was also very light pressure, and then slowly I'm building up the lip by creating a bit more dimension around the edges. And just think of how just Google some pictures of, the best thing would be some beauty ads and just Google those images and have a look, especially on those big, exaggerated, more kind of unnatural looking lips. I won't say any names here, but that's current trend, it seems like. And so just have a look how the lighting is on those lips. So there's a lot of highlights and a lot of play with the depth and dimension. So usually there is darker lip color around the edges. And in fact, Marilyn Monroe, she had a makeup artist that came up with the idea of using multiple number of lipsticks, like red tones, different red tones, deeper, lighter, mid-tones, and also lip pencils would be in a few different colors. So it would be, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 different products just to create that Marilyn Monroe red pout. So that's the inspiration where kind of my fashion beauty illustrations come from. I used to work in beauty and fashion industry, the magazine sector of it, and so it was quite interesting to me to see how products work, and I'd be writing little articles about different products that are coming out on the market, and so I have a little bit of knowledge about that part of beauty. So now I decided to just do some bit of doodling, because I thought it already the illustration looked different to my kind of usual watercolor style in ink, and so I decided to go with it and just create something a little bit different. And I think by using things like pencils, colored pencils that I don't tend to use as often as other mediums, I find that it will push you into a new direction and you might discover something that you really like. So the other thing about pencil is that you won't be able to get a very fine line. So the less pressure you apply, the more lighter the pigment will look, which means the line will be quite faint. So if you want a strong line but a thin one, you will struggle a little bit, because if you sharpen your pencil and try to draw with a bit of pressure, it tends to snip very easily and quickly. So you are basically left with kind of the same line thickness, so you don't have that variation that you might do with watercolors, where you would switch to a finer brush, to a thicker brush, to a flat brush, depending on what kind of thickness of the line you would want to achieve, or texture. So here with the pencil, the variation that you do have is just, like I said, is applying more or less pressure and getting a more faint or a deeper look, but within the line it will be the same pretty much throughout. So that's kind of part of the style, and I really like it. I'm also quite heavy-handed anyhow, so I do like to push a lot on the pencil. Once I have established the basic lines and the basic shapes, and I know that that's where I'm going, I then will kind of press pretty hard on the lead to get the pigment going. So here I decided to do hair just by kind of staying with it, that same daisy cheek style which I've done there, and just doodling kind of lines there, which does look like hair, but it's more kind of whimsical rather than realistic, and it works well with this style of the illustration. So the face, usually my kind of signature move is to add those long lashes at the end. However, I couldn't do it here for the reason that I just explained. I do like the lashes to be very thin. I use the thinnest pens, the thinnest fountain pens or gel pens that I have to create that look. And obviously here I couldn't do it. If I would do it with a pencil, it would be quite a thick line, which I didn't want, because it would be like a focus on that, and I didn't want that to be. I wanted it to be on her kind of pretty lips and cheeks, rather than on the thick lines of the lashes. So there I have attempted to do some shadowing around her eyeshadow lid area, and I did it very mildly to start off with. Later on I will go ahead and create some more depth. So I started looking at the dress area because I wanted to have something there to kind of finish the illustration. So a little bit of torso and décolletage and the neck area. So once I've done the frills with the Prussian blue side of the pencil, I felt like I wanted, you can see I'm taking time here to think where I want that red to be repeated throughout the illustration, because at the minute it's just bang in the middle of the page. It's quite strong on the lips and the cheek, and before the dress and before the hair it wasn't anywhere else. So I was trying to think carefully of the placement because I didn't want the red to start overpowering things. However, I wanted it to be repeated throughout to make the illustration a little bit more balanced, and that's usually what kind of makes things look a little bit more finished and a little bit more better and stylized, I guess. So here I'm also adding a little bit of that red into the fringe. The best tip I could give is always take time. Like you could see there, because this is not a sped up version of my video, it's a real time. You can see how much time I'm actually taking to consider where I want those lines to be. So I'm not doing it quickly and haphazardly, because then it tends to go a little bit wrong. But something like that, you want to take time. So here I'm going back to that deepening of the shading and the eyeshadow. So I'm trying to add a little bit of a shadow underneath her eyes, which is something I like to do with watercolor generally, or ink line, that I use a bit of water to make the ink flow and create a little shade under the eye. That's part of my style. And I like it. So here I decided to deepen that Prussian blue, although it was already quite dark. I decided to go over with the red on top and in a way mix it together with the Prussian blue, and that created something almost like a black color actually. So that stands out the most. So if you look at the darkest part of the illustration, it's now the eyeliner, which is great, because before that it was mainly the lips and the cheeks, and then everything else was kind of almost one-dimensional. So by adding that bit of red into the hair and that red on top of the Prussian blue on the eyeliner, things have now become a little bit more deeper. And now I decided to do more doodling and add these vermilion little polka dots there. Later on, off camera, I actually went ahead and added some of the dark blue as well, just a few of them, but that made it look better in my opinion. And that is pretty much it for this illustration. Alright, so here she is, and I think she looks interesting. So I think the whole point of minimizing your color choices down to 2 and have 2 quite contrasting colors kind of will already make the style different of the illustration. So if I show you something like that, although it's still within that kind of my style, but it's different and it's really fun. I mean, you don't have to have this specific pencil unless you really like the colors here, but you can pick something similar from your colored pencils, or you can even go completely different and pick something like teal and a pink, you know, something like that, and that would be quite interesting as well. Also the fact that you can with pencils you can use them in a light-handed way, and so you'll get a very kind of light pencil mark, or you can press harder and get more color and stronger lines. So that also will change a few things. And then things like just doodling and adding different little marks and things like that. So it's really easy, really fun to do. And yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching and see you soon.